Inflation is the silent wealth killer that most people don't take seriously until it's too late. While the government claims inflation is only 3 to 4% annually, the real cost of living, housing, food, energy, healthcare is rising much faster than your paycheck. Here's the brutal math. If inflation runs 4% annually and your money sits in a savings account earning 1%, you're losing 3% of your purchasing power every single year. Over a decade, that's nearly 30% of your wealth quietly evaporating. But here's what the wealthy understand. Inflation isn't just a problem to endure. It's a predictable economic force you can position yourself to benefit from. While others watch their purchasing power decline, smart investors use inflation-beating strategies to actually grow their wealth faster during inflationary periods. Today, I'm sharing 5 proven strategies to not just protect your money from inflation, but actually profit from it. These aren't complex financial instruments. They're accessible strategies anyone can implement starting today. Hit that subscribe button because I'm sharing inflation-fighting strategies every week that can protect and grow your wealth. Number 1. Invest in real assets that appreciate with inflation. The most powerful inflation hedge is owning real assets. Things with intrinsic value that typically increase in price along with or ahead of inflation. Real estate, commodities, and inflation-protected securities all tend to maintain or increase their purchasing power during inflationary periods. Real estate investment trusts, REITs, are the easiest way for most people to access real estate. REITs own income-producing properties like apartments, office buildings, and warehouses. When inflation drives up construction costs and rents, REIT values typically rise accordingly. During the 1970s inflation surge, REITs significantly outperformed stocks and bonds. Today, you can buy diversified REIT exposure through ETFs like VNQ or individual REITs like Realty Income, O, which has increased its dividend for over 25 years. Treasury inflation-protected securities, TIPS, are government bonds specifically designed to beat inflation. The principal value adjusts upward with the consumer price index, ensuring your purchasing power is maintained. While returns aren't spectacular, TIPS provide guaranteed inflation protection. Commodity ETFs give you exposure to raw materials like oil, gold, agricultural products, and industrial metals. These physical goods often rise in price during inflationary periods because they represent the actual inputs driving inflation. Consider broad commodity funds like DJP or specific exposures like gold, GLD, or energy, XLE. Number 2, invest in dividend-growing stocks. Companies that can consistently raise their dividends tend to outperform during inflationary periods because they have pricing power, the ability to pass increased costs to customers while maintaining profit margins. Dividends aristocrats. S&P 500 companies that have increased dividends for at least 25 consecutive years have historically provided excellent inflation protection. These companies include Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, and Procter & Gamble, businesses with strong brands and loyal customers who will pay higher prices. The key is dividend growth, not just high current yields. A company paying 2% that grows its dividend 8% annually will outpace inflation over time, while a company paying 6% with no growth will see its real value erode. Utility stocks deserve special mention because they often have regulated rate structures that allow them to pass increased costs directly to consumers. Utilities like NextEra Energy and Southern Company have long histories of dividend growth and inflation protection. You can access dividend-growing stocks through ETFs like VIG, Vanguard Dividend Appreciation, or CHD, Schwab US Dividend Equity, which automatically select companies with strong dividend growth histories. Number 3. Use fixed-rate debt strategically. This strategy flips conventional wisdom on its head. During inflationary periods, being a borrower can be more profitable than being a saver. When you have fixed-rate debt and inflation rises, you're paying back loans with cheaper dollars while your assets appreciate. Fixed-rate mortgages are the classic example. If you locked in a 3% mortgage and inflation runs 5%, you're effectively being paid 2% annually to borrow money. Your home value likely appreciates with inflation, while your mortgage payment stays constant, improving your net worth. Strategic leveraging can amplify this effect. Real estate investors often use fixed-rate mortgages to buy rental properties during inflationary periods. As rents and property values rise with inflation, the real cost of their fixed mortgage payments declines. However, this strategy requires careful risk management. Only take on debt you can comfortably service, even if income doesn't keep pace with inflation immediately. And focus on productive assets that generate income or appreciate with inflation. 4. Invest in companies with pricing power. Not all stocks perform equally during inflation. Companies with strong competitive moats and pricing power tend to thrive, while those in competitive industries with thin margins struggle to pass costs to customers. Technology companies with dominant market positions often have excellent pricing power. Microsoft can raise Office 365 prices and customers will pay because switching costs are high. Apple can increase iPhone prices because of brand loyalty and ecosystem lock-in. Healthcare companies benefit from inelastic demand. People need medications and medical procedures regardless of price increases. Companies like United Health Group and Johnson & Johnson can typically maintain margins during inflationary periods. Consumer staples companies with strong brands also have pricing power. Procter & Gamble can raise prices on Tide detergent and Crest toothpaste because consumers are loyal to these products, and the cost represents a small portion of household budgets. Avoid companies in highly competitive, commodity-like businesses where customers can easily switch based on price. Airlines, retailers with weak differentiation, and basic manufacturing often struggle during inflation. Number 5, invest in your own earning power. The most reliable inflation hedge is your ability to earn more money. Unlike investments that might underperform, skills and knowledge compound over time and typically allow you to demand higher compensation that outpaces inflation. Skill development in high-demand areas like technology, healthcare, or specialized trades provides inflation protection through higher wages. A software engineer who earns $100,000 today might earn $150,000 plus in 5 years through skill development, easily outpacing inflation. Professional certifications and advanced degrees often provide immediate salary bumps and long-term earning power. The cost of education today might seem high, but it's paid with current dollars while the benefits accrue over decades of higher earnings. Side businesses or freelancing can provide additional income streams that grow with your expertise. A marketing consultant who starts charging $50 per hour might command $150 per hour within a few years as their reputation and skills develop. Entrepreneurship offers the highest potential returns because successful business owners can raise prices along with or ahead of inflation. If your business provides genuine value, customers will typically accept price increases that maintain your profit margins. The most effective approach combines multiple strategies rather than relying on just one. Here's a sample allocation for inflation protection. 40% stocks focused on dividend growers and companies with pricing power. 25% real estate through REITs or direct ownership. 15% tips or other inflation-protected bonds, 10% commodities or commodity-focused investments, 10% high-yield savings for liquidity and opportunities. Adjust percentages based on your risk tolerance and time horizon, but maintain exposure to real assets and dividend-growing companies as your foundation. Hoarding cash is the biggest mistake during inflationary periods. While emergency funds are important, excess cash loses purchasing power rapidly during inflation. Chasing yield without considering sustainability leads many investors to high dividend stocks or bonds that can't maintain payouts during economic stress. Panic buying commodities or real estate at inflated prices often creates poor long-term returns. The key is steady, systematic investing rather than timing-based decisions. Ignoring foreign exposure misses opportunities in countries or currencies that might outperform during US inflation. Inflation is predictable. It will continue over time as governments prefer mild inflation to deflation. The question isn't whether inflation will affect your wealth, but whether you'll be positioned to benefit from it or become its victim. These 5 strategies, real assets, dividend growers, strategic debt, companies with pricing power, and personal skill development, have historically provided excellent inflation protection while building long-term wealth. The key is starting now, before inflation accelerates. Waiting until inflation is obvious to everyone means paying higher prices for inflation-hedged investments and missing the early benefits. Your future purchasing power depends on decisions you make today. Choose to be an inflation winner, not an inflation victim. Which of these inflation-fighting strategies will you implement first? Let me know in the comments, and if this guide helped you think differently about inflation, hit that like button and subscribe for more wealth protection strategies. Remember, inflation never takes a break, and neither should your efforts to stay ahead of it.